Most people don't recognize it, but like climate change and nuclear war, health equity is one of the existential challenges facing our society. It is an existential issue because if it is not addressed in a responsive and inclusive fashion, inequities could lead to conflict, social disruption, and the dissolution of the values and hopes that bind us together as a society. One of the ways that has been shown to effectively advance health equity is to build community resilience by increasing the capacity of communities to create their own healthy future. That is, getting people connected with each other and organizations within their community, and then building their capacity to stimulate the changes necessary to create the conditions that allow people to thrive. On today's episode of A Public Health Journal, we will be looking at one of those efforts to do just that. Please stay tuned.
Welcome to A Public Health Journal, a program that explores the public health issues facing our society today and tomorrow. The host of our show is Dr. Ed Ehlinger, Commissioner of Health for the state of Minnesota. A Public Health Journal is sponsored by the Minnesota Department of Health, the Hennepin County Human Services and Public Health Department, and the Minnesota Public Health Association, all working together towards the goal of healthy people living and thriving in healthy communities.
Welcome to A Public Health Journal. The Neighborhood Hub is an organization established to help foster the development of healthy African American community in North Minneapolis. It provides advocacy, leadership development, employment counseling, and youth development as a one-stop family support center. It focuses especially on people with disabilities, people of color, and those living in poverty. Joining me today to discuss the Neighborhood Hub are Kale Severson, the Neighborhood Hub Grant Coordinator, and Kimberly Caprini, the Neighborhood Hub Resource Navigator. Kale and Kimberly, welcome to our program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Neighborhood Hub is not coming off my tongue as rapidly as I would like, but Kale, why don't you start out as the grant coordinator. Tell us what the Neighborhood Hub is, why it got started, and what it hopes to do.
Yeah, absolutely. The Neighborhood Hub is an organization that was created around the tornado that came through in North Minneapolis about 10, 11 years ago now. And what we were trying to do was make sure that we were servicing the needs of the people in the community, specifically targeting people of color and African Americans. This organization has grown multiple times, and our primary goal is to serve the community in a sense where there is not services provided or low services. Currently, we have a few different programs. A Healthy Homes Initiative is one that we're wrapping up right now, where we're trying to figure out exactly what are the specific problems for African Americans living in North Minneapolis in their homes. Is radon a huge issue? Is lead an issue? How is there a food desert here? What issues are adversely facing the community? Another one we have is, that's most recently a new one, is we're working with Hennepin County around families that are entering the foster care system. And we're trying to be a liaison between the families and the courts, pretty much. And we want to represent and have a good outcome for both sides. We also have resource navigators. Specifically, they're there to service the community in whatever need that they may have. We also have a computer lab that's open and available to the community, where printing is absolutely free. Faxing is free, notary is free, and unfortunately in our community sometimes it costs a few dollars to have these type of things done. The stores around charge $1 a page to fax, right? So they can come right on down to the Neighborhood Hub and access these services for free.
It sounds like you're trying to create some of the things that most neighborhoods have. Were these things lacking in North Minneapolis?
They're still lacking in areas, absolutely. So
why is that?
You know, I think equity issues are continuing to be an issue, specifically when you face people of color and disenfranchised communities. Education is a part, learning to advocate for yourself. Advocacy is a huge thing that we're working on, self-advocacy. So we hope that working with the local politicians and with the community that we can bring some of that back to our community.
All right. And Kimberly, I know you're a resource navigator.
Yes.
Tell us what that is.
Well, basically, as Kale was saying, we offer the opportunity for folks to come in and use our copy machine. We have the computer lab. We also offer housing resources, job resources, just really trying to connect the community with opportunities to find housing. We also have a very small amount of dollars that we can provide folks that qualify for support if they are late on their water bill or their electricity bill. So those are some of the things that I do. I like really like what I do because there's this customer service piece that comes with it. And I feel like far too often folks that are working within these parameters don't always get that level of I see you, I know that you're in a situation that you're hurting right now. And just being able to listen and allow someone to just kind of vent about what's going on in their life is helpful. And I feel good because I know they're leaving feeling like they've been given the opportunity to be heard, and we're able to give them the support, provided they fit within the parameters of the criteria that we have.
So being a resource navigator, you try to navigate people to the various resources. What if the resources aren't available? What do you do to try to get resources? Because it sounds like there's a lack of some resources in the North Minneapolis community.
That's the difficult part, because I feel like there are areas that are just kind of drying up, so to speak, in terms of funding. And one of the responsibilities that I have, and I'm just going to be starting this new work probably within the next week, is going out into North Minneapolis and meeting with different organizations, churches, to find out what kinds of resources they offer and what are the parameters within those offerings, which I'm really excited about. So I'm setting up my date book, so to speak, and I'll be out in the field looking for opportunities to bring to the hub to provide services for the folks that we serve.
Yeah. Now, Kale, I know some of the reasons communities are disadvantaged is because of policies that were in place, particularly in North Minneapolis, where you had redlining and loans that were unavailable, and check cashing, and payday loans, and all of those different kinds of policies. What are you doing about changing those policies that really make a difference in communities?
Yeah, so we're reaching out to our local elected officials, specifically some of our state leaders, to work around some advocacy around policy. Specifically with the Healthy Homes Initiative, we provide data in which we collected along the way in the past year about some of these specific issues around housing and some of the issues that we're having. Partnering with them is probably perhaps one of the most important things that we can do to try to shift the paradigm in some of these issues that we have.
Now, I know on your website you talk about grassroots organizing, and I know people are talking about grassroots and grass tops. What's the difference between grassroots organizing and grass tops organizing?
Well, what we want to do is get people involved that haven't been involved before. And typically what we're seeing, and this is throughout the country, is disenfranchised folks, people of color, people who just have not had the education or the know-how to participate and be involved. And what we do know is going door to door is an effective way to get people involved and engaged, and to share education around some of this policy work that we're working on.
So who are you trying to engage? Kimberly, you talked about being a resource for folks. Who do you try to serve in your community?
Well, for myself, I try to speak to as many people that are within the lanes that I'm in. For instance, I'm a huge education advocate, so to be able to be a participant in several site councils and at events in the schools, I'm able to reach parents right there, and be able to speak to them about what the hub has to offer, and just knowing what some of the students in the classrooms are dealing with in terms of knowing a little bit about their families or the neighborhoods they live in. I'm able to access those conversations through their teachers or through their parents, so just by offering information about the hub. So that's one area that I work really hard in, trying to get the word out about the neighborhood hub.
So it sounds like you work with existing organizations that are bringing people together,
Exactly.
but you're also working, like you say, going door to door, so sort of that individual focus and that sort of organizational focus?
Absolutely. The most important thing that people need to know is we don't have millions of dollars, and that's not our goal or any initiative of ours. Ours is partnering with folks. How do we make sure people get services that they need and we can meet their everyday needs? So we have great partners that we've developed. We're continuing to work and develop more partnerships. What we know is we can't solve all the problems, and what we know is how important that community is, and involving everyone in the community to address some of the disparities with us is kind of our goal.
Yeah. Who are some of the partners that you're working with?
Yeah, so specifically Community Action has been a great partner and resource. Sustainable Resource Center SRC has been great for us. They have specifically done some great work in North Minneapolis and have some great dollars to help improve the everyday needs, whether it's helping folks with new heating systems, new electrical systems, handicap accessibility systems. So SRC has been a great resource for us. But another one that's really interesting that a lot of folks don't think about are the churches in our community, right? The first social serving agencies that there were, right? So we're trying to re-engage and involved and share what we have with them and have them share with us what they have going on as well.
All right, I want to talk about some of your specific initiatives, but first we need to take a little break.
Awesome.
We'll be back right after this message.
Hello. Yes. Can I ask a few questions about the apartment on Park Street?
What was your name?
My name is Juan Hernandez.
It's been rented.
Oh, it's gone. Hello, my name is Sanjay Kumar. I am calling about the apartment on Park Street.
It's not available.
Not available?
Hello, my name is Tyrone Washington. I'm calling about the apartment on Park Street.
Just been rented.
Yes, hello, my name is Graham Wellington. I'm calling about the apartment for rent on Park Street. Is that still available?
Yes, it is.
What is?
Yes.
Really?
Housing discrimination is illegal. If you think you've been a victim because of your race, color, national origin, sex, religion, disability, or family status, call us. Fair housing. It's not an option. It's the law.
Welcome back. We're talking about the Health Equity Initiative called the Neighborhood Hub in North Minneapolis with Kale Severson and Kimberly Caprini from the Neighborhood Hub. So let's talk about health equity in your community. What inequities do you see? What inequities are you focusing on? And what is your approach to advancing equity in North Minneapolis?
Absolutely. Well, getting folks to understand what some of their needs and how we can help meet them is something huge. So like the self-advocacy part is huge. Letting folks know how important it is to have a healthy home and what a healthy home necessarily looks like. And also addressing some of the unhealthy things that they may have in their home in a very culturally safe, competent way.
All right, so how do you do the community organizing to build the power in a community to make the changes? Because I mean, to make change, it really takes power, it takes leadership, it takes community organizing. What kind of approach do you take?
Well, first and foremost, we work hard on hiring people from the community that look like the community. Specifically, my two staff are two African American women that live within our community. They're culturally competent. It's a safe place when they're entering other homes. And most importantly, Ed, what I want everyone to know that our programs are for everyone, but we're trying to specifically address the African American community. So having culturally competent staff who are excited and want to do the hard work in addressing some of these disparities, I think is a huge success point for the Neighborhood Hub.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of theory of change do you have to make this happen? How do you get people energized to say, if you do this, you're going to have more partners, you're going to be able to make some change? How do you stimulate folks to act? Because, I mean, this community has been disadvantaged for a whole variety of reasons for many years, and people get discouraged, and so how do you, build the capacity?
Well, Ed, North Minneapolis is extremely resilient, and the folks really want to be healthy. They want to be involved and engaged. We just got to create avenues and help create a space for some folks and be an ally, right? So when we're going to homes and we're doing the Healthy Homes wellness check, we're going through things and we're asking questions and we're trying to follow up in a safe manner. And we also, people want and need resources. And when they have a positive experience with us, they share these experiences with others. And that's how we're starting to build capacity within the North Minneapolis community.
And Kimberly, as you work with folks, what keeps bringing you back to this work? What stimulates you to say, we're actually making a difference?
I am a people person. I worked in the restaurant business for 25 years, so customer service, as I said earlier, is something that's really important to me, and I care about the people that I'm serving. When you were speaking about being healthy and getting that information out, as a resource navigator, I have the opportunity to let people know about the new Worth Co-op that just recently opened up, and the healthy foods that are being provided there. We just recently opened up North Market, and they have a whole wellness area within the grocery store, as well as North Memorial. So, just being able to connect folks that may not live like right around the corner from these particular places, letting them know that they exist and giving them information about what they have to offer, and literally connecting them with the manager at Worth Co-op so that there's that connection, and getting them in and door knocking. As Kale had mentioned earlier, I'm a board director for the co-op, so that's something that we do quite a bit, is literally hammer in on that 20 to 25 block radius. So I feel like the work I do at the hub kind of spills over into the other areas of my life, and I want to see people be well. I want to see people thrive. I want to see North Minneapolis grow, and it's a great place to live, and I just love my work.
Now Kale talked about community resilience, as a resilient community. Do you see that when you're working with the individual? Do you have the optimism that, all right, this is a community that's really poised to make some changes?
I do. I think we're at a pivotal point right now, specifically since the election and the changeover with so many positions. There are so many more folks that haven't been involved in the areas of politics because they may not have completely understood how things work. But when you break things down and you have conversations with folks and you literally get them to see how certain situations affect them literally, bells start to go off and light bulbs start to turn on, and just that little bit of information can spark something and get them involved in the smallest way. And to me, that's a success. It's a huge success if it's just advocating for your child at school, or advocating for yourself at the clinic, or coming into the hub and wanting to build your resume, and realizing that even though someone may think, oh, I just did this as a job, once you start talking to them about the literal work that they've done and how you can create this incredible job description that's kind of like, wow, I had no idea that that's what I was doing. And it reads better, it sounds better, and you can see them kind of lift up in their seat, and it's exciting.
Kale, how are you seeing this resilience play out?
Yeah, so one thing I was thinking about when she was speaking is we are trying to serve the community in a capacity, but something that I kind of see happening at the hub is it's kind of turning into a business center for people of color.
Right.
So we have folks come in that are doing their everyday work, right? We have an African-American man who works in the insurance industry, and he comes in, a couple times a month and just sits on the computer and faxes some things off and makes a few copies. And we have we're seeing a huge influx of Hmong families coming in and using our systems as well, whether it be faxing, doing their work specifically. So I think it's wonderful to see kind of a business hub develop right inside the neighborhood hub. I don't know if that was our intent, but we'll take it.
If it works,
absolutely.
it works.
Absolutely. Right? Provide access, right?
All right. Well, a few other things I want to talk about, but first we need to take another break. So we'll be back right after this message.
This is a warning, and it might be the only one that you get. For those who don't mind leaving the world unchanged, this is not for you. But for those who want something more, for those who wonder what it feels like to make a difference, this warning is for you. There is a profession where you work with the most volatile, explosive medium known to man. A career where challenging the status quo is part of your daily to-do list. A line of work where you lead those you love to struggle, fight, and conquer. The future hangs in the balance. So consider yourself warned. Should you take this on, you will leave a legacy, you will change the future, and you will feel what it's like to make more. Okay, class, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Put your hands up if you're paying attention. Okay, now, we're gonna go over where we stopped last week. We're gonna go over...
Welcome back. We're talking about the Neighborhood Hub in North Minneapolis with Kale Severson and Kimberly Caprini from the Neighborhood Hub. How is the Neighborhood Hub funded? What resources do you have to keep going and doing the work that you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are funded through, we got many different funding revenues. So one, obviously, is the state of Minnesota, Hennepin County, the city of Minneapolis. We recently partnered with Xcel Energy and CenterPoint around some services for the community. So we have partnered with many folks at the government level. And recently we just did a small fundraiser at Holiday on 44th, right? So just partnering within the community and we maintain the funding through pretty much the state, county, and city.
So what do you think is a sustainability model for this? How do you in public health, I am always concerned that we try to do all the public health on grants, and grants last only a short period of time. And one of the things that I see as really important is getting the community to own the initiatives and finding some way to sustain it, locally with whatever, mechanisms. What are you trying to do to have that kind of sustainability?
Yeah, so once again, working with local government, city council members, showing the work that we're doing, providing data that we have to show the work that is successful and is needed in our community. My hope eventually is that we can develop models that the city will sustain, specifically addressing the lead issues. We know for a fact that lead is a huge issue, and it is a priority within the city of Minneapolis to address some of these issues. One of the things that we know is the Trump administration pretty much cut everything across the board recently, but they actually increased lead funding by about 6%. So how do we access them dollars? How do we make sure them dollars roll down to specifically address some of the issues that we have specifically in our communities?
And Kimberly, what do you see as the sustainability of this kind of project?
Well, I think once people realize that we're kind of like a one-stop shop. You can come in, as we've talked about, have access to the computer lab, free notary, support with building your resume, those kinds of things, and then that small area of funding that we have to support folks to keep them on track with their utility bills. So when you consider the long lines at some social service offices, if we're able to kind of cut some of that to some degree, I think that in itself shows sustainability. And I think it's just a matter of continuing to get the word out and continuing to offer a level of service that that provides that opportunity for people to feel like, you know what, I went to the hub, I felt like I mattered. I left feeling great. They were able to support me with my needs, and that just gets out into the community and by virtue brings more folks in that are in need of that support. And plus the folks that want to just use the computer lab and get copies and the notary and all of that, because we offer that to all of the community, regardless of your income.
Now, Kale, you've been doing this for about 10 years, so you must have learned something, and you developed a model that seems to be working in North Minneapolis, but we know there are communities throughout the state, both urban and suburban and rural communities, that have some of the similar problems that you're finding in North Minneapolis. What are you learning that they could benefit from?
Well, the thing that I love about our executive directors, we don't want to be a huge industry business, right? We want to remain small. We want to remain in our communities. And I believe the model that we've developed at the Neighborhood Hub is something that we could replicate and put in some other communities that are facing the same emerging needs that we have. What we know what works is having cultural competency there. What we know works is seeing people that work inside this organization, that they look like the people that they serve in the community. What we also know that works is when we hire people from our community. So we want to be a beacon for the community, and we want to represent everything that they want and need, and vice versa.
Yeah, because there are some powerful forces, in terms of large organizations and national organizations that kind of go in the opposite direction. How are you kind of offsetting some of those economic forces that pull things away from small communities?
Yeah, so partnering. The one thing I want everyone to leave from the Neighborhood Hub, our take from us today, is the importance of partnerships in the community. We know that we don't have millions of dollars to serve everybody, right? But what we know is that we build good partnerships within the community to help serve the specific community's needs.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, if I could just add to that. And also I think it's important that we aren't trying to reinvent the wheel. We're not trying to do something that we don't have the capacity to do. We are an organization that wants to be present for those smaller steps that folks need. And again, it goes back to the work that I do, just offering up the office, so to speak, for folks, because you can't go to Office Max and just, you could, but it's going to cost you something, a lot. And then you're surrounded by everything. At the Hub, it's kind of like being at home. We have a very small computer lab, but again, as Kale was saying, we have people that come in and do their daily or monthly work, and that's something that I think is important. We offer information about other organizations like Emerge or Twin Cities Rise, about the work that they do. So I think it's important for folks to understand that an organization like ours is needed to just for those smaller steps that some folks can't afford or don't have access to.
And provide the services that are not being provided in the community.
Exactly.
That's what organizations that want to do this kind of work, that's kind of our goal. What is not being addressed in our community? What can we do? Even if it's small, what can we address?
And one of the things you brought up several times is the healthy homes. And tell me a little bit about how that has evolved and what kind of success you're having with your Healthy Homes initiative.
Yeah, so we had a great deal of success. We got to be welcomed into almost 200 homes in North Minneapolis and have two of our community navigators get in there and do a healthy homes evaluation. So it was great to see what's going on in there, how we can help improve it, what resources we have, and what education we have to help provide a better living circumstance.
Great. Well, this has been very helpful. Thank you very much for being on the show, and good luck with creating the community capacity to create a healthy future in North Minneapolis and the rest of the state.
Thanks,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'll be back with a closing comment right after this message.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He does the work of 2 jobs, but only gets paid for one. He's tough enough to feed the man that gave him a lifetime of nourishment. He has the crazy strength to lift the man that raised him up without even flinching. That's right. No employee of the month bonus check here. This guy, no, this warrior, will always be by his father's side, even if his dad will hardly remember. Good luck finding a gym to train for that. If this guy isn't the toughest guy on the planet, then I don't know who is. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
One thing we've learned over the last 50 years is that if change is going to occur in our neighborhoods, cities, states, and countries, community members have to be actively engaged in making that change happen. If they are excluded or choose not to be involved, change won't occur. Or if it does, it may not meet the needs of the community. That's why community development and community engagement are core public health activities. But community members by themselves cannot make sustainable change happen. They need partners. Partners in the business and faith communities, partners in education, and partners in government at all levels. We've also learned over the last 50 years that each of these partners is essential in creating a healthy society. Not involving any of these or not having a balanced involvement will not lead to effective or sustainable change. To create and sustain change, we need good policies, systems, and programs, and supportive social, economic, and physical environments. Like the African proverb that states that it takes a village to raise a child, we also know it takes all parts of a community to create a healthy society. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. I hope you can join us again next time on A Public Health Journal.